All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 4:03. This is the April 7th, 2021 meeting of the Southampton Advisory Board for the Council on Aging. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law 30A, Section 18, and the March 15th order imposing strict limitations to the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southampton Council on Aging was conducted via remote participation. Oops, somebody wants in. Okay. Who is that? We just opened the meeting at 4:03 and, it's Rena. Okay.
Ready?
How you doing? Great. It says, you're the town of Southampton boards and committees, so you're incognito for a minute. All right. Approval of March's minutes. And I before we go into that, Jim did send me an email. He was not feeling up to par, so he's not going to be here. So I need a volunteer to capture some minutes of today's meeting. Don't everybody jump in at once. You just have to capture we need to have it captured, and then we can always look at the recording afterwards to make sure if you missed anything.
I can do it.
Thank you, Nancy. Nancy Russo will record as our clerk. Thank you. Okay, March minutes. Did anybody have any comments, or is there a motion to approve March's minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I second the motion.
I'm sorry, Kay second? Okay, so Lori
Yes.
first, Kay second. Any discussion about the minutes before we vote on the motion? All right, I'm going to run down the list here. Hopefully I don't miss anybody. Lori LaSalle, if you vote in
Yes.
support. Okay. Kay?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Sylvia and Jonathan don't get to vote, but you can nod. And Janet Kane, yes. So we have our quorum with that vote. Okay?
A point of clarification.
Yes.
Just want to make sure. So this is my second meeting, but first officially as an alternate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not eligible to vote, and I assume that means that I cannot make a motion or second either as an alternate, right?
That would be correct. Yes. Yeah. You can certainly participate fully in all the discussions. Okay. Thank you for asking that question. So that's a great question. Okay. So the minutes of March have been approved. Treasurer's report. Do you want me to bring that up, Nancy, at all, or does anybody want to take a look? I don't know if everybody gets a chance to see everything. You want any Nancy, you want to just kind of walk us through anything in significant that you'd like to cover, make sure you point out, or? Nancy?
Sorry about that.
Okay. Or does anybody?
No, Joan is working on spending down.
Yep.
So jump in, Joan.
We had a nice meeting, and we were going to tie in the interim accountant to, discuss a few things, which hasn't happened yet, but hopefully will happen within the next week or so.
And have you received an expense report? Did you get one at the beginning of April or the end of March? When was the last time you got an expense report, Joan, from the town?
I shared it, I think it was several weeks ago, so it was not the beginning of April, but maybe the end of March. I did share it, but I couldn't tell you exact date.
Okay. And
I think it was still just to February, so we don't have anything.
Okay. So hopefully that will get caught up. With the state formula grant, if we all take a look at column D, and we have, total of 14 and change to to spend, and we're not quite halfway there. So probably for our next meeting to start thinking about what are any additional key expenditures for, that we can utilize the state formula grant for. I know we've had some good opportunities using the COVID funds, the care funds. So, Joan, maybe we could have a call with Executive Office of Elder Affairs, EOEA, and just see what their expectations are for this COVID year and spending that down.
The gentleman's name is Adam Frank. And I think even last year we were in contact with him when we wanted to buy our computers. Mm-hmm. So I know we could use, another, an extension of the phone system since we opened up the reception area. It could be, something small. I don't know. I haven't researched it yet.
Okay.
So, and we talked about maybe doing some leveling or use of the outdoor where the awning is and the continuation of the backyard so if I think there is money, we can use money for, it includes programming and the facility. So I'm not sure about the outdoor space, but I would assume, and I shouldn't, that we can use money to open up the outdoor space for programming and use some of that money for that, but I'll verify that.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. And yeah, that would be, I don't know if everybody got a chance to look at the awning. I know, Joan, your report comes up next, so I won't take any time away from that, but we'll take a look at that as well. And then
so the concern with that is, I'm new to this too. And for the alternates, the concern with that is, do we get that same amount next year? Will we get less because we use less, which is why we want to.
Right. That's how it works. If you don't spend it all, then they reduce you that amount from next year's. But next year's might be different anyway because they're going to use the new census from 2020, and the numbers are higher, but the amount might be different. So anyway, let's try and spend it as much as we can.
Yeah. So if it's the kind of thing, if we don't spend it, we could potentially be reduced. And I know that in Governor Baker's budget, he proposed $9 per senior, where today we're getting $12 per senior. That's never a done deal. So have you, on any of the directors' meetings, Joan, that you've been on, any other additional discussion?
Not yet.
No. Okay. And you're paying.
When does this all have to be spent by?
June 30th. And I was going to mention you, Lori, because in the last couple of years, you've been very helpful in spending down. We got chairs and we've got all kinds of things with that. So.
I know I'd like to run a couple pickleball clinics for some of the beginners, seniors that are a little intimidated we're not that good, but we're intimidating. So I'd like to, and I reached out to Dale Cazell today to see if she would be able to help support some pickleball clinics for senior beginners. I mean, that won't be a lot, but things like that. So, all right. And then the Frida grant, same thing. I know Michael said you're going to try to get together soon and talk, right? From what Michael from Frida from Franklin Regional Transit Authority.
Yeah, I asked for a third quarter report. He only sent the second quarter, so I haven't received that yet. But yeah, there should be some discussion about. Obviously, it's been a different year than it's ever been. So the usage of grants and, it's hard to project what it's going to be like and when it's going to, start turning around. But we've been steady. We still have several trips a day, but it's not like it was. It's a third of what it was, 2 years ago.
Okay. Is it still just for medical, Joan?
No, we're doing other trips at this time. Most of it's medical, but we have done shopping. I believe there's a hair salon one. We don't, early on it was medical only, but I mean, I'll verify that, but we've been picking up other rides as well.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. All right, great. So do we have a motion on the, and thanks for all the good for the CARES Act funds, then tracking all that information. That's great to know where it's gone and what, what we have left, and we've almost spent that. Is there anything outstanding, Joan, for the CARES fund right now?
Off the top of my head, I don't have that. I should have prepared for this meeting, but I'll look at that one tomorrow in the office and just see what is it, 1,900 we have to spend?
Yeah,
Oh,
just-
I know what, 1,500 of it is groceries. We were going to go to Big E's and we were going to do one more grocery giveaway. So that was, decided not to do it in the midwinter because we can't use the building for packing, and the church had limited us. We did it once in November, so I'm thinking possibly May to do a grocery giveaway, but we'd have to, hopefully we'd get volunteers to be cleared to come in the building to help with that packing. We did about 40 bags the last time. We could probably do as many this time.
Okay. Great. All right, do we have a motion for the treasurer's report then, please?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Lori made a motion. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay. I see a pattern. Okay, excellent. All in favor, Loisel,
Aye.
Lori,
Aye.
Lucio,
Yes.
Kane, aye. Thank you. Thank you.
Aye.
Great. All right. Let me see if I can find the director's report documents in the back. There we go. And I'm going to let Joan obviously speak to that and her extremely busy, and she couldn't be more delighted to have Flo back in the office 2 days a week.
She was so helpful. We had a planning meeting by Zoom, and there must have been 4 or 5 phone calls in that hour, and she was there to pick them up. So yeah, it's been great. She's happy to be back, and she's working directly in the office too. So we have the partitions. We do wear a mask if we're getting up from the desk, but she has both vaccines, and 2 weeks out, I have 1 vaccine. So we're working in the right direction to open up the center. So yeah, the calls have doubled. I got 210 phone calls. I don't actually know how that all happened and how we were able to handle that. Of course, we do have the answering machine. We do have 2 lines, but mostly it's for vaccine appointments. We had 60 calls just about vaccines. We had another 70 people that did the meals to go. So very active March, even though the center itself was closed. The office was very busy. The Frida van was very busy. We did have to make a couple house visits for Frida applications and Frida IDs. We have to make sure they get a picture of their ID. I want to make note of the 2 things. The Irish music that we have, which came from the formula grant, was $200 for Roger Tinknell, which was wonderful, and it was saved to the cloud and shared to Easthampton Media for a replay. So it can be used again.
It was pretty good.
Thank you, Sylvia. I'm glad you joined us.
Yes. Yes, I really.
Yes, very close up.
Did I disappear from the screen because I was dancing around?
Oh, good. I'm glad. I wanted to dance a couple of times too. He played a jig and a reel.
Just stand up and do it.
I do the line dancing once in a while, so I get a little share of that. The other thing is we had the MEMA, I should say not MEM, it's MEMA, a large delivery of PPE. We had at least 15 cases of sanitizer and gloves and masks, the N95 masks. I mean, tremendous amount of PPE. That the request started from the town administrator and from the public health. It ended up in the senior center. So eventually I was able to move it into the studio, which is where the DME, the durable medical equipment is stored. So that room is getting quite full now. So I think we're going to do an overhaul of that room and try to do some, I don't know if Ed's talking about shelving or what he's going to do, but I know there's a lot of stuff in the studio now.
And that was PPE, you said N95s and
Yep.
what else?
Gloves, we have a couple of kinds of gloves, these big green rubber gloves, more, that we can use for cleaning and other things too. Let's see, let me think about
I'm just curious why they came to the senior center.
So I'll tell you honestly why it happened, because we're the easy access. We're the one level. So it came with the police department, the emergency management, who is Mr. Snyder, is it? Don Snyder?
Yep.
They came to our door because it's one level. And it was easy in, easy out. And there were so many. I mean, they had 2 truckloads of things.
So are they still in the senior center or if they've been moved? Yeah.
I moved them Monday.
Okay.
But they're in the DME closet.
They're in the, yes, which is in the basement of the town hall.
Yeah.
So that's used for many things. That's not my place.
Oh, okay.
Your space. That's
Got it.
That's the town hall space, and yeah.
formerly a studio, I guess, recording studio where it was going to
Well, I think they talked about that, but that was the original senior center in the town hall. That was part of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Good. And I'm just going to make a shout out to Caitlin for the amazing work she's doing, assisting our seniors to get shots. She's done a number of people, and she says she tries at 12 o'clock and is disappointed if there's nothing available at midnight. So
she got Jesse and my shot, and we were both scheduled first and second shot.
Yeah, she got a number of. I mean, we worked a lot at the beginning for the 75 and older, but when it opened up for 65 and above, she just stepped right in and did an amazing job. So.
And the health department's saying that the town hall won't open until everybody in the town hall has their shots. So she was able to get somebody from the collector's office a shot appointment as well.
Oh, good. Great. And then
is that legal?
Actually, it's not. I wanted to just chime in on that. So we had a meeting yesterday with, usually it's police, fire, highway, town administrator, and health director and EMD. And I asked that very question is what because I knew that Flo and Darlene were back in there. And she said that we're going to wait and see what happens after the school vacation, because a lot of the cases in town right now, and we did unfortunately go into the yellow, was because of kids in sports. So they're going to wait till after the April vacation, and all the kids are supposed to be back in school on the 26th of April. And so that's what she said, but she never made any reference to immunizations, and she can't mandate, or nobody can mandate someone to get an immunization.
Okay, thank you for telling me that. That was a comment, and I heard June 1st is they're kind of reaching for June 1st, but.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a no date was actually mentioned. She said, let's just see where we are after the school vacation. And all that DME that came in, just want to give credit to our EMD. He filled out all the paperwork for that to happen. And there's a lot of PPE that's stored at the police station too right now. So anyway, hopefully it'll be moved and organized.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem for a while, but it was on the one cart that we have, and we're starting outdoor activities such as
Right.
coffee, so I needed my cart back. So I'm glad you're right. It was Don and his wife actually who were very involved with it, and each department gave a list to the town administrator. So we gave a list of a dozen items that we needed. We ended up with all of them. Not the ones from the police department, I guess, and the schools.
So, Joan, the 70 meals, I wanted to just go back to the good, and thank you for clarifying, Rini. That's very helpful. But the Good Eats to Go, I mean, that's been amazing. I think we've supported their business, and they've supported our seniors, and it's just been a win-win for everybody. So do we have any more meals left, or?
We have 86 meals left out of the 200, but we're up to about 66 for this month.
Okay, so it's almost,
Yeah,
Great.
almost
Okay.
done. We had actually about 25 that couldn't get on the March list that really wanted the corned beef, and they're talking about a turkey dinner or something like that this month.
okay, great. Any additional questions for Joan from her activities before we move on to Darlene's real quick?
Joan, it just looks like you were super busy this month. I mean, wow.
Yeah. But it's supported by Darlene and Flo. I mean, Darlene does all the Zoom, most of the Zoom connections for line dancing and bingo and all that. But yeah, I'm very lucky. We had a real run on the durable medical equipment, and unfortunately, the sheriff's department key guy Dave Fenton broke his his tibia on one hand and his ankle on the other. Anyway, he's out of commission, so a lot of the calls he would be getting have been coming to us. So we gave out quite a few items this month, last month, and now this month.
So anybody have any questions from Darlene's report? Again, and she's coming back around May 1st to the office?
That's the plan.
Yeah. She's been working the phones from home, and like you said, working a lot of the Zoom meetings, and we appreciate everything she's doing remotely. She's certainly keeping busy. And she worked on the flyer for the silent auction as well. So that's great. And I know we'll take a look at that. That's sometime in May, and we'll let Kay give us an update on that. And then Flo, as the volunteer coordinator, continues to reach out to the residents. And we appreciate all the work that she's been doing as well. And it was good to hear her voice back in the senior center the other day when I called in. So
she's a member of the walking club as well as the member of the Healthy Bones and Balance social group, which Kay Lorigan is also. And it warms my heart when they're sitting in the parking lot and visiting with each other. They've all had double shots, but they still sit 6 feet apart, and they meet every single week.
that's great. That's great. And they'll be starting their walking club up soon, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, well, we did the walking today, and there were 3 of us, Carol and Louise and I, and the first time we went to Dunkin' Donuts and had our coffee inside, which was the first time since this COVID thing began, which was really something. Yeah. First time I've gone inside any place.
It probably felt a little strange, right, doing that? And
It is. It's strange, yeah.
okay, anybody else have any more comments on the reports here? Otherwise, we'll move on with our agenda. So, Kay, do you have an update from the Friends meeting yesterday?
Yes, the Friends had a meeting yesterday, April 6th at 10:30 via Zoom, and I came in on the telephone, and they had a very good meeting. I'm not sure how many attended, but quite a few it seemed, because I'm on the telephone, but they discussed many things. They passed their minutes and their treasurers, and then they discussed the plans for their silent auction, which seems to be going well. I think they have a lot of items that they're going to present, and they're going to have the auction on the May 22nd and a preview on May 19th. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work, whether you can start bidding on the 19th or how they still have to, I guess, finalize some of that stuff. But everything seems to be going good. They've got a lot of interest and a lot of items that they're going to present, so it should be interesting. And and everybody's very excited about it, and so hopefully it will go well.
Do they have enough items, Kay?
What?
Do they have enough items? They getting
More than enough.
all right.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they didn't really go into all. I mean, that I heard, but they seem to have quite a few. Yeah. And then there are coming in. There are probably some coming in that they haven't finalized yet. You know.
Yeah, it's still over a month away, so I'm sure there's.
Right. So that's going well, and and they discussed their contribution to celebrate Southampton. They're going to, if it goes, they were supposed to have it last year, but they didn't, and they're going to contribute money for that, and also they might have a booth there if it comes to fruition in August. I guess it's scheduled for August 13th and 14th. And they also discussed the installation of the awning, which everybody's very excited about to make use of for maybe some activities or meetings. So we'll see how that goes. And I had to cut out early because I had a phone call, but I think they discussed other things which I am not aware of right now because I haven't gotten the minutes, but that's what I have to report right now.
Okay. Great. Anybody have questions? Are they looking for recruits for the auction? Are they pretty well covered from the friends that are active as far as?
Oh, I think they're pretty well set. They have, they have quite a few volunteers.
Because the goal is to display the items outside in the parking lot on the 22nd. Joan,
I think they're going to display them under the awning and on a table.
I think that's not big enough. Joan,
I don't know. I mean, they haven't. I don't think they've finalized it yet, but that's what they were discussing.
It'll be outside somewhere.
Yes. I'm not sure how that preview is going to work. Whether it'll be by, but
That's what we're going to figure out on that Wednesday. The preview is going to help us to do like a dress rehearsal, a dry run of how to set it up.
Right.
I have a question. Advertising.
Yeah, it was spoken about. There's a list of about 6 different places. I think, Facebook, I just put it on Facebook yesterday, but we need to, reiterate that. But I think they're getting photographs. They want to get it in the next newsletter, the reminder. I know Francine had a list of about half a dozen places.
Oh, good.
Oh, I know. They want to put it on that sign. We have to call the Mothers Club. And I don't know about the Lions Club, the one out in front of the town hall, but if it's available.
Yeah, if you get to Bob early enough, it should be.
What's his last name?
Kozub, Kozub.
Thank you. And I think it's
Probably Southampton Lions Club. There's probably an email address on their website, I would think.
Because they have something up to at least April 15th, I know. So maybe we could get it after that.
Okay, great. Okay, Kay, thank you for being here. All right. So new and old business. So one of the things that, I don't know if anybody had the chance to watch the select board meeting last night, but our chief workman has requested his folks that are not up to the state minimum wage yet to have an increase to a minimum, the $13.50. So we are going to hopefully be able to up the volunteer coordinator from the $12 an hour that is today and put in a PCF for $13.50. I think the details still have to be worked out as far as the start date. I know we have money in the state formula grant, which is where she gets paid from at the time. So it's not anything that takes away from the town budget, but to try to get everybody in town a fair and somewhat competitive wage, I think is the goal. I don't know if Rini wants to comment, or I won't put you on the spot for that either. It's up to you.
No, actually, I don't mind being on the spot at all. So it initiated with the fire department wanting to move anybody that was below minimum wage up. The change is a state thing that happened as of January 1. So they filled out PCFs requesting a change effective January 1. So I think the select board didn't have to vote on it because we don't have the PCFs yet, but I think there's general support by the select board, especially if it's in people's budget, to move people up that are below minimum wage. So that includes one position in the senior center flow, and then the fire department, some people, subs in the library, and election workers. So we didn't vote in favor of it or not, but if people want to submit a PCF, there is general support for paying a living wage consistent with the state of Massachusetts.
So are we talking January 1st of next year?
No, it would be retroactive.
Of January 1st of this year? Oh.
Oh, that's excellent.
So do you think, Joan, you could have a couple minutes to fill out a PCF so we can put it in front of and I'm happy to try to help, or somebody from the treasurer's payroll if you have questions on it, but.
And that would be helpful, especially if we can get it in before June 30th, because then that could use some of our formula grant too.
And the other thing too is there have been problems, just so you know, with the forms. By the time they come to the select board, there's a lot of gaps or missing things or whatever. So if you're not used to doing it, it might be good to just like have another person take a look at it, because it's just, it's frustrating. They actually came up with a new form to make it more user friendly, but just to not delay it, it might be a good idea to have somebody else take a look at it.
I know when Robin was in the office, she would do that, and she's still on the board, but sure.
Yeah. I just make sure it says retroactive. If that's the vote of the board here, just make sure it says retroactive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as an advisory board meeting, we really probably wouldn't take a motion to do this.
Okay. Okay.
It's kind of, we can voice our support, but I don't know, as an advisory board, we really have any authority. It's Ed and you folks on the select board.
Okay.
Okay, so.
But we do recommend retroactive, right?
Yes, we do recommend. So, if somebody wants to make a motion to recommend, I'm happy to entertain.
I make a motion to recommend this would be retroactive to January 1st.
$13.50 per hour, retroactive to January 1st, 2021 for the volunteer coordinator position.
Thank you.
Do we have a second for a recommendation?
I will second Janet.
Okay, that's Lori Loisel for a second. All in favor? Obviously, Lori. Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, since you made the motion. Although it doesn't mean you're going to vote in favor for it. Kay Lorigan?
Aye.
Nancy Ruscio?
Definitely aye.
Janet Kane? Loud aye. So let's get it done next week. Okay, Joan?
If not tomorrow, first thing Monday.
Okay, and the select board we have to go to the PPBB. Well, it has to go to the town accountant first, and then it'll go to the Personnel Policies and Procedures Board, and then to the select board. So
okay,
it's a process, as we know.
So PPP had requested that we give everybody's salary and what a 2% increase would be. And I forgot that most of our staff come from grants. So finally, it's just two people, and one part-time wages come from the town. So anyway, I did redo it 3 times, and I think I'm okay with it now, but it went to PPP.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. So we weren't on the original email for it. So.
Okay. I think I CC you maybe.
Yeah, you copied me on the response, and I think I recommended that you include Ed.
Oh, right.
More to say about it then.
I'll do that tomorrow.
We can certainly recommend, but.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. Opening of the center, I think we touched base on that, Joan, and we're kind of in a hold position for the moment, but you are starting to work. You want to talk about any spring outdoor activities or new activities?
Sure. So it is still chilly in the mornings. We did have a coffee twice so far outside, and again, those other groups that are already meeting outside. But we still have to. I'm inside of the public health department office, and we still have to be 6 feet apart with masks unless we're drinking coffee. So I need to remember that, and maybe the 4 foot or whatever 3-foot hard tables are not going to work. I guess I'll have to put the 6-foot tables out so that people can sit on either side of it. But anyway, we're trying to, get outside, and it's beautiful. I mean, the birds are singing and the sun is shining, and I'm hoping to do more things outside. The level of the grass is a little unnerving because it's uneven. But we need the parking lot for the cars. So we're going to work at that, making it safe for people. I know Healthy Bones and Balance felt they wouldn't be safe doing their activity out there, but we have, besides the silent auction, which will be outside, we have Holyoke Gas and Electric, who's coming for a talk and a giveaway. So hopefully that's, I think it's like May 11th, or it's a Thursday in May. So that'll be one of our first major activities.
And how do we set people up for that?
I'm going to have to check with the health department, see what they recommend. I can set up, I have folding chairs that are in the studio storage I can bring up. So I can set them six feet apart if that's what they're recommending. People wear masks, hand sanitizer. We have a portable hand sanitizer that came with the PPE delivery. So, whatever the recommendations are, I'll check with the health department, make sure we follow the guidelines.
Okay, good. And people are going to sign up in advance. So, will there be a cap of the people that are in attendance from a space perspective?
I hadn't thought about that yet.
Okay, just something to think about. If we can only get so many people in a certain distance there.
Maybe I'll have the health department agent come to the area we're hoping to hold it in and see what she recommends. I mean, I can measure it out. If she recommends 20 people, we'll have 20 people.
Okay. All right. Good. And Tai Chi, are you going to start that in May? And is that going to be under the awning? Under the awning?
Correct. That would be the same area. So maybe there'll be a limit on people for that as well. And you've been running, what, about a dozen? I don't know, when you were at.
It depends. Yeah, it depends. It's who knows after months.
Right. Who will come back. But he's going to run 2. He's going to run a beginner's and an advanced.
Okay.
So, but I think that'll be crucial. Thank you for bringing that up, that I should know how many people can attend these and, safely.
If we have to have a sign off, a sign in for a number of people, then we need to make sure we cut it off at the sign-in list, so I know they usually sign up when they get there, but maybe for this purpose, I mean, certainly we were at Conant Park with Tai Chi and we had lots of room to spread out. So,
right.
So that's a difference. Anything else? I know you're talking about the volunteer luncheon in June. Is everybody familiar with that? Maybe for Sylvie and Jonathan, because they're new to us, and maybe talk a little bit about that, Joan.
So normally we'd have 2 luncheons in June. One is the Friends Picnic on the second Monday of the month at Conant Park. The second one is a luncheon for our volunteers. So last year we weren't able to have either, but we did have a drive-by because Lori Loisel was our Volunteer of the Year for 2020, and we were able to have a parade and come by her house and give her certificates, and it was a wonderful event.
Wait, could you just hold 1 second? I don't. Somebody iPad 6 just came on, and could you identify?
Is that me? Is that me, Josie?
Oh, Josie.
Josie,
Yes, your iPad 6. Okay.
Josie. I can see you. You can't see me?
We can't see you. You need to.
Oh, well, that's probably a good thing.
No.
I'm sorry. I totally forgot.
And it was a beautiful day to be outside. But welcome.
Well, thank you.
So anyway, we were talking about Lori being the Volunteer of the Year last year and not being able to have the luncheon. So I thought, and hopefully, again, with the guidance from the health department, we can have a luncheon at Conant Park, a picnic, and have the recognition at the same time. And that's my plan right now. I don't know if things will change, but it would be on June 14th, which is Flag Day. So it will be a patriotic theme. And Good Eats to Go will be doing the meals. And so Friends doesn't even have to worry about it this year. But it may be limited to 20 or 30 people. I'm not sure. I'll have to find out what, again, we'll have to follow guidelines unless we set up some other extra tables outside of the picnic area.
So you wouldn't just have that at Conant Park then with where there's space there and an overhang and?
It's definitely going to be at Conant Park.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
That's the plan.
Okay.
It would not be at the center. We're not even sure we're going to be open June 1st.
I was thinking about under the awning or something. I was just.
I don't think we're ready for 20 or 30, people sitting and eating and that whole thing. It's all set up at Conant Park, and we've done it at Conant Park in the years prior. So that's my plan so far.
Okay.
And did you say that was the volunteer luncheon and something else? I missed.
The friends picnic.
Okay.
So this is usually comes out of the state formula grant. So it's important that we kind of budget that out and what it's going to be. And if there's a restriction on the number of people, I know June's a little bit away, but I don't want to end up thinking we have all this money left and then it's gone. So.
It'll be here before we know it. So.
No. So if we can get some estimates or something, or find out how many people.
So Flo's back in the office. I'll have her start working on that. Usually we have a giveaway, some kind of a trinket or something to give to our volunteers. And we figure, $10 or $12 a head for meals. So we'll work on that together.
Okay, great. Good. So the next is sort of like the reception desk volunteers we were talking about.
I think Jonathan had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jonathan. You're muted, Jonathan. I'm sorry.
Left corner, lower corner.
It depends on what his screen looks like.
Uh-oh. Yeah, and we can't unmute you. He has to do it himself.
Yeah.
I won't miss this when we're off Zoom, the technical difficulties.
If you can't get on, Jonathan, and you want to send a chat message, we're happy to do that in the interim too while you're. Josie's giving us a tour of her porch or something.
I know. They're building a new house on her corner around on Center Street. You have a good view of it.
Oh, he's here, I think, Jonathan.
Okay, finally. I keep forgetting which computer I'm on and whether I can touch the screen or not to make things happen. So, Joan, I realize it's still in the planning, but approximately what time would that be on the 14th?
Usually it's noontime. We'd gather, 10:30, 11 for setup, but usually the meal's about noon.
Okay. And did you say there was a second function that you normally have?
We're combining them. Normally, we would have a luncheon inside the center just for volunteers, and the picnic would be open to the public. We had up to 60 people. It was, and we had the sheriff's department and the police department cooking hamburgers, and so this time it might be a little, less people, but we will be choosing our volunteer of the year, and usually it's a secret ballot. And the person finds out that day.
So, I don't know that, were we just going to keep it to the volunteers then? You talk about opening it up or not? I'm just wondering if.
Right now we have about 30 volunteers. So depending on how many people, I've got to find out how many people are allowed. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Celebrate Southampton, don't they do a picnic too? Maybe they have some guidelines on how many people they can have. Of course, theirs isn't until August, so.
Yeah, theirs is in August. I would,
Yeah, I'll check with the health department and see.
Because this is a town function, the volunteer luncheon. So Celebrate Southampton is kind of external.
I would say it would be mostly volunteers, but there may be a handful of other folks. The Friends, obviously many of them are volunteers, so they're in both groups.
Josie's sideways now.
Well,
So-
I can't figure out how to,
That's
sorry,
right.
I
Josie, you
usually
have it
do
right
my
now.
iPad.
So just,
Josie, it's fine right
you're
now.
wondering if you get invited because you're on the COA board or an alternate on the COA board, you are considered a volunteer. So
So save the date.
Sylvia will get an invitation, and Jonathan and Nancy and Josie and Laurie and Kay, you'll all be invited.
And the state formula grant, we have a lot of money left in there. So
Yep.
spend up.
That also has guidelines, so I have to be,
Well, but we've always used it for the volunteer. It's
Oh,
always,
yes, I think they say $1,000.
Well,
okay.
we've got over 7,000 to spend.
I know.
We'll get that cleared up beforehand. So good.
The other thing, Joan, to check about the food, whether or not you can do buffet or it has to be
Box, yeah.
because my grandson was getting married in June. That changed for them.
So you can't do a buffet. You have to do a sit down. Right. And I think maybe they've been doing the Good Eats to Go, has been doing individual. So maybe that's what we'll do. We'll do individual meals, but we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah, and that would be easy enough to just hand everyone an individual meal.
Good. Great. So now we have this lovely reception desk to greet people for, when we reopen. We either will have either the Darlene or Flo, but if they're really busy in the office and they're working on something, they can't do both. So Joan and I talked about how do we recruit a schedule of volunteers that will work a morning or an afternoon or so. It's something to think about. And we're a little ways off from that, but we need to make sure we make good use of that and that we're able to log people in. And, we have a hand scanner now, so we can scan people's cards and they don't have to touch the screen while we're going, re-entering normalcy. So it's just, I don't know if anybody had any thoughts about that or.
I know we had a couple volunteers that would cover the phones, especially when we were away or whatever. And I think that works fairly well if you could, give an hour on a Tuesday or Tuesday, Thursday or whatever, if folks would like to. I mean, you get to see a lot of nice people too. So
I think, doesn't the library have a few volunteers that work over there? And I don't know if they're at the desk, but maybe Barbara could give us some insight on how but I'm sure they just don't pick an hour here, an hour there. That maybe, it might be an interesting conversation to have with her to see how they utilize the volunteers, because they seem to have a lot of volunteers over there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So I did send something out. It was a document that came from the bylaw committee about boards and committees. I don't know. I'm not going to spend reading it to you today if you haven't read it, but if you have any comments and thoughts about anything that seems needs to be corrected or an addition or something that you feel should be removed, you can certainly get those thoughts to me and I will forward them to Lucy. I know they're trying to move on this, within the next month. So did everybody see that as one of the attachments yesterday that came through? I know there were a lot of attachments there. So I don't know if anybody has any thoughts or comments reading through it, or if you got a chance to read through it or.
I'm afraid I didn't get to read through it.
Okay, so if you get a chance, or I don't know if anybody else had any comments. I know from another board, my recommendation was they said that each member of the board would provide their name and email address and phone number to Lucy from each board. And I guess my suggestion was maybe to filter that through the chair instead of having 100 people send Lucy emails. So that was just, I don't know if they'll change it or not, but that was like an example of something that I suggested. So
we would send it would go through you to Lucy.
if you have, I only because I'd like to collect them and share them with everybody on the board, Josie, otherwise,
Right, I don't have any, so you already have ours, right?
I had to submit.
No, wait. wait, this, right now, we're just talking about the bylaw and any comments on the
Oh.
bylaw. Once that gets passed and they have a process in place, then we'll worry about that information being sent to them. This is just
Oh.
a bylaw that's being reviewed, and they were looking for, because it kind of manages some of the, requirements for people that sign up or are appointed or elected to boards and committees. It's important that members of boards and committees take a look at it and see if they're comfortable with what's in there or have some thoughts about it. So, Jonathan, I see your finger this time.
Yeah, Janet, one question I would have is if there's any major changes to the current bylaw on that.
I don't know that there is a bylaw on that right now, is what I believe. I mean, there are some committees that members get elected and they never come. We're fortunate we don't have that. But it's important to maybe put some guidelines, I guess. This group feels maybe some guidelines around that. If you don't come, that, you can be subject to removal from the board if you're not participating, because it impacts quorum and everything else for a lot of boards. So if you can take a look at that attachment, and if you have any thoughts or comments, just send them to me and we'll share them with our board next time. But I'll get them to Lucy. Okay.
I think that's a good recommendation, though,
Yeah, I mean,
to funnel it through, because I did have to submit that to Lucy a couple months ago.
okay. The board member? Yeah, I mean,
It was staff and board members.
okay, good. I mean, it's good to have an updated, accurate listing, which is subject to change all the time, right? So you'll have to update it again.
Right.
So, okay. So I'm resignation of a board member. So I'm very sad to, share with you, and you probably have already heard, we received a letter from Yvonne after our last meeting. Her letter said, "Dear Janet Kane, it is with regret that I tender my resignation from the Council on Aging Board effective immediately. It's been my pleasure to serve with all of you for the past 3 years. Best wishes for your continued success." So again, it's with this, I'm not disappointed in her, but I'm sad to lose her. She was very helpful in the open space and recreation. She represented the COA board for that. She was always involved in any kind of grant opportunities that came across Joan's desk and had really good input. She always looked at things from a different perspective than myself, and I always appreciated that. So, but that does leave us with once the select board accepts the resignation, it will leave us with an opening on the COA board. So just to throw out, and then there is elections coming up in May. My term expires, Yvonne was expiring, and Kay's term expires. So my intention is to hopefully be reappointed to this board. And for Kay, if you can think about it, let me know. You don't have to make any announcements today, but May is our election meeting where we select officers and members for fiscal year 22, which would begin in July. And then we are, honored to have 2 alternates right now. So that's also great. So anyway, just food for thought, okay? But again, I'm sad to accept Yvonne's, but her term was expiring, and so I guess the timing was appropriate for her. So any questions or thoughts or on the, so, we have 7 board members, so hopefully, and 2 alternates. So we'll keep filling in the gaps. So Sylvia and Jonathan and Kay, I guess, think about what it is you'd like to do come July 1st, and we'll figure it out by next month's meeting. Okay?
Okay.
You know how to reach me.
Okay.
I have Kay's phone number.
I know.
All right.
Okay.
Anybody else have any thoughts or to share? Or? Okay, great. So we received an email yesterday or today from Highland Valley for some grant opportunity. And Joan, if you want to just touch, I know it's due May 31st, I think, but do you want to give us a overview or just a quickie, and then we'll talk about it more.
So I just realized it's on a 2-year cycle. I was thinking it was on a 3-year cycle. So anyway, 2 years ago, we did put in for an outreach person and we were denied. And part of it was because we didn't have as much collaboration with other places or other council on aging. So in the last year or so, I've been making more connections with Easthampton and Westhampton. So my idea was either to get, can still focus on outreach or focus on transportation. Maybe Westhampton has already reached out to us through Frida for transportation, maybe doing some joint transportation. But they do suggest, there's a few things they suggest. Social isolation is one of them, so outreach would have to do with that. I'd be glad for any input. I have about a month and a half to put something together. And I actually did send an email to Brendan Rogers from Easthampton and to Amy from Westhampton today, just saying I'd be willing to do something jointly with them if they were interested.
So quick question, does Easthampton, were they awarded 2 years ago with a grant?
It doesn't sound like they were. I mean, it's public knowledge, so I'll have to look. But they are a city, which is different. Mm-hmm. They have a full-time outreach worker that's paid for by wages by the city. And I guess they had a community block grant is how they started their outreach office person. So the city does run a little differently than the towns. So right now, outreach is covered for them. So I'm not sure that they're interested in doing a joint grant with us. Maybe Westhampton might be a better.
Yeah, I mean, you have Chesterfield, you have Westhampton, some of the hill towns that don't have a huge staff like Joan does.
We all have our strengths. There's a wonderful woman, and I don't have her name. I think it's Jan, but I could be wrong. She's on Highland Valley. She always talks about the Hilltown Consortium. So I know there are, where Jen is, Huntington and Chesterfield and those places already work together because they don't even have directors. They have a volunteer boards and, so, I mean, I may not have as much as some other places, but they have less than we have.
Yeah, but we have more seniors as well.
And we have more seniors.
So, I mean, it's just maybe Williamsburg, I'm just trying to think of some of the bigger, small communities, as if that makes any sense to anybody.
Yes.
Can you send out the
PCF
actual grant? Yeah, the PCF to everybody on the board. You have everybody's email address, including.
I think did Sylvia and Jonathan, did they get updated on the list yet? I may need their emails.
Okay.
What are you going to send?
The PCF, which is the
not the PCF,
actually our
RFP.
Thank you. Request for proposal.
Yes, PCF is that other
That's
conversation.
the other thing I'm going to do.
And where is this grant from?
Highland Valley Elder Services.
I just want to say I'm happy to help if if you want it. I'd love to do something that focuses on outreach or something in town. So just let me know.
That'd be great. Thank
And
you.
we also have the grant committee that maybe can give some thoughts. They're pretty busy and they're involved in a lot of things, but with Chris Fowles and Kate, and I forget who else is on it right now off the top of my head, but.
The CARES grant? I was going to say, I didn't know we had a grant committee.
They're an ad hoc grant committee for the town.
When did that start?
A few months ago. They've worked on a number of things. I think Diana Fetterman is on it as well.
Mhm. Yeah, the four of them, Ed and,
So that's wonderful. Yeah, I could use any help I can get. So I'll share it with you, Rini, and anybody that wants to help out.
that'd be great.
Yeah, get some good thoughts and people that, I mean, they've been very successful in getting some grants, so.
And one of the ideas was outreach coordinator, and the other was what with the towns?
Well, it was transportation, but I'm not sure which avenue to go with that. But there's always a need for transportation. I mean, we needed bigger money. I think they reduced the amount. It was $5,000 was the maximum. Now I think it's $4,000. I just looked at it briefly.
Yeah.
Usually that pays wages or, but I know Highland Valley themselves were able to get a cargo van for the Meals on Wheels program. And that was like $45,000. Of course, they're a federal agency. So.
Okay, great. So yeah, if you can just share it with the board, and if you don't have Sylvia and Jonathan's emails on that, shame on me, I will get those to you. I need to make sure they're added to our website and things as well.
It looks like there's 2 informational sessions too on them. I think I attended one last year with Yvonne or 2 years ago with Yvonne.
Okay, so great. Anybody's interested in also kind of working with Joan as a board member to help support the initiative, please let her know. Okay. Great. Okay. So the next on the agenda is, as I mentioned briefly, we have the board annual meeting is May, the first Wednesday in May, where we renew members, make recommendations for appointments to membership, as well as elect officers. So be thinking about all those wonderful things, and we'll get more information out to you at that point in time. Maybe it'll be nice enough to be at Conant Park and have an outdoor meeting or something, but it's a little bit harder for Nancy, who's working, and Rini, who's working, to show up at Conant Park. So maybe we'll stay with Zoom for a little bit longer. So,
as an aside, it's Cinco de Mayo, just putting it up there.
Will there be margaritas? Maybe I can make it.
If we're at home, we can have the margaritas. I don't know if we're in Conant Park, we can't.
yeah,
I can vouch for Nancy's margaritas, by the way. I can vouch for your margaritas.
That's right, you can. Ooh, it's time.
We should make it mandatory, although we could have non-alcoholic margaritas too, I suppose.
We can do it at the end of the meeting once it's closed, maybe. I'd lose total control of the group if we had it throughout the meeting, for sure. So
I agree.
that would be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but so that will take place in May, and we'll have it in the calendar because other people may be interested in becoming members or alternates on the board as well. So it certainly is an open meeting. So, okay. So an update on the scoring of the director's position and description. So Jim Palermo and I attempted to attend a few different personnel policies and procedure board meetings for the scoring because of illness and conflicts. It got bounced a couple times. And by the time we got to the last meeting, we really looked at the scale that Joan is on, and it's not that the grade level is inappropriate, it's that the step that Joan is at is inappropriate. So when I believe back in, and I have a letter from the Personnel Policies and Procedures Board back in January of 2018, when the COA director was scored, the position was scored, not the director, but the position. There was a recommendation, a motion made by member Alderman, which was seconded by member Palermo, that the PPPB voted unanimously to recommend a wage rate. And again, this is 3 fiscal years ago, a wage rate of $24 per hour. And as the position was budgeted for 26 hours a week and it's exempt and salaried, the annual salary would be 26 hours times $24 times 52 52.5, I think it's supposed to be 52.2 weeks per year for a salary of $32,760. So that said, Joan was hired at maybe 20 or just under 20. She was never,
$20 an hour.
yeah, the budget never allowed us to appropriately implement the salary that was recommended. And again, come July, it'll be 4 fiscal years ago. So we feel that if we correct the step, which is what we budgeted for, was around $27, that we're in the right grade. We're just at the wrong step. And I'm happy to scan this and share it with.
Is step and grade the same thing?
No, a grade is a section and the step is within that grade. So,
So repeat what you just said then. We're at the correct.
so we're at the right grade, which is grade 16. What we're at is at step, if I look at the step, we're at about between grade 4 and grade 5.
No, step
No,
4.
step between.
I'm sorry. Thank you. This is why I screw you up, Nancy, trying to say this correctly. We are at between step 4 and 5, really close to step 4, which was 1993, back in 2017. The recommendation was step 8, which is 2440. And we haven't gotten even close to that 3.5 years later. So my justification to the Finance Committee, and I will send this letter to the Finance Committee and to the Select Board, is to go between either step 10 or step 11. Whoops, I'm sorry. Yeah, step 10 or step 11, which is step 10 is 2682. Step 11 is 2797. Which is what would be appropriate. The top step is step 13, so there is still room for Joan to grow as well. Okay.
So we're looking to recommend 10.
We're looking to recommend, yes, 10, because we're looking at 27, so 2682.
I thought you said 10 or 11.
10 or 11. Well, we're between 10 and 11. So we recommend $27. So 2682 is the closest. 11 would be 2797. So.
Well, I have to say that the members of the PPBB back in 2018 who recommended the rate for the position, the grade in the rate, I think we're very, very wise.
Indeed.
And they were also very knowledgeable people in terms of their working in human resources and various other aspects of business, etc.
I mean, it's certainly with Joan's new certification and her years that she's put in here since $24.40 was recommended, or grade 8. You know, I think that, I don't know.
Step 8.
Step 8. Thank you. Oh my God.
So the rate that you're looking at now is very much deserved.
Yeah, it's what we put into the budget, basically.
Right.
And rescoring it wouldn't have really changed it dramatically. Because, I mean, grade 17 is only like 60 cents more an hour than grade 16.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of variables when you have new people grading positions. So, I mean, we have a salary that certainly should be followed from when it was presented back in 2018, but the budget unfortunately didn't support the recommendation.
So is that in process? It's all
We
set?
submitted the budget, so, and I know we had this conversation with the PPPB, And I know that FinCom was represented or was there listening. He recused himself from participating. But, so it all depends on what happens with the budget season.
So is this similar to what's going to happen with the volunteer coordinator's position, that we would put in a PCF, or no?
Well, we really can't. The PCF is from state formula grant and it's for now, and the money is there. We don't know what this is the budget process now, so we won't have a PCF and it won't be retroactive.
I understand that.
Not money in the budget, but we need to go through the budget process and provide the documentation to the people that are making decisions. And based on also the study that was done shortly after this, where the recommendation also showed that the COA director's position was scored way below the median point for the job. So, Jonathan?
So just to clarify, does the money come from the salaries for the two positions come from the state or from the town?
So we're just talking about one, well, for volunteer coordinator is funded by the state. We use money from the state for that. The director's position initially was supported partially by the state and partially by the town. And when we had an override a few years ago, we requested to have the position fully funded by the town. Joan didn't make any more money. It was just she was the only department head in town that had her salary partially funded by a grant that could potentially go away at any time. So in order to keep our center functioning and secure, we put that into the override, and that was approved through the override did pass. So.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
So just to let you know what the budget process is, if you didn't know, last night, we have not gotten a budget back from Ed where all the information is put in to line items. That should happen within the next week. But the Finance Committee has made recommendation. Well, the Finance Committee has met with all the department heads. So next Tuesday and then the following Tuesday are meetings with the Finance Committee. And I think last night we clarified what the priorities are of the select board. And what we heard is municipal raises for all employees, non-union employees that don't already have it in a contract, bringing people up to the minimum wage, closing the gap for the people that are the farthest away from where they should be. And I would imagine Joan would fall in that category, closing the gap of those folks, closer to where that the people of the same grade are. And then there were a couple of other things, technology for town hall and school children. So that's what the select board said last night. So what will happen was when the budget draft gets put together and we go line by line and department by department, we will speak up and support that being in the operating budget.
So Rini, I have a quick question. When you say the same grade, so there was the Jacobs study where he categorized department heads at a grade. Mm-hmm. And then there's, our grade, our exempt grading here, that's grades 11 through 20. I have no idea where other department heads fall into this, like town hall department. I mean, when you say the same grade, are you referring to the Jacobs study and that? No?
No, because the PQB wants to focus more on the PQB. So I think it's just that there's some parity around people that are directors and some parity around people that are administrative assistants. So if you're at a level, it's trying to get people closer that are far off from where their counterparts are.
Okay, and that's kind of what they showed at the Jacobs kind of put them all in a grade 5, the town hall department heads.
Yeah.
and showed the disparity between top and bottom. So,
This is why I'm really glad that we got a grant, a DLTA grant to pair up and have possibly regional HR services.
Yeah.
Because it's an elected board and it's not the same as when you were there, Josie. That's all I'll say.
well, and it's about personnel policies and procedures. It's really not about setting,
Right.
wages so much, I guess. I don't know where that gets done. So,
Right. So
Okay.
anyway, the hope is that, I think the select board's in favor of this increase. And we know that the pay rate is too low for someone who's had lots of experience as senior center director and a bachelor's degree. And so it's only the right thing to do. But last night there was support for that.
great. Okay. Thank you for that update too. All right. Moving on. We have about no more than 10 minutes to go. So I have a couple things I just want to share with everybody. The first thing, let me just go down to share a document that's on the agenda. Nope, let me stop this share. I don't know why that's there. Sorry. I don't know what you guys saw, but it's not what I saw.
That was the rental assistance.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't show up on mine. So
Is that what you're looking for?
yeah, let me see if I can do it again. Nope. Okay, let me close this area. So through the CARES Fund, I don't know if I'm on the Housing Authority, so we were rewarded $6,000 in the CARES Fund. So we, as a authority, voted to work with Community Action of Pioneer Valley and put together a rental assistance program. So this is, I guess, they will contact Pioneer Valley, Community Action Pioneer Valley, if somebody qualifies. So, Joan, I don't know if this is something that you can put in the newsletter to help people become aware of it, because it's very kind of confidential information. This is not, something that people are going to come running to us. They need to go directly to Community Action. But
You want me to put it in the newsletter? I'd be glad to.
yeah, I'm just thinking, I don't know what anybody else thinks, but it's not a lot of money, but there's a lot of other programs that Community Action can also hook people up to. And it has to be based on COVID driven, so that, I think it would be a great thing to have in the newsletter. I don't know how other people feel about it. That's okay.
So technically, it wouldn't be a senior if they're already on Social Security or a pension. It would be people that maybe lost their positions because of COVID.
Maybe a senior, it may not be a senior. It could be multiple reasons. So I'm not saying that it couldn't be a senior.
Yeah, I don't have a problem putting it in. I think as a community, we want to help each other. And maybe these are folks that, they're staying with their family and their family are, having financial needs.
Yeah. So, and again, it could be somebody that can't pay the rent for multiple reasons, and there's no age limit. So, all right.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be somebody whose parent receives this newsletter, and I don't know, what do other people feel about that? Being in the newsletter.
Doesn't matter to me at all.
I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
and I agree. You just don't know. We don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Right. Yep.
It's not to let these people know there's something out there if they need it.
Okay. All right.
So it's just for renters, not for anybody with a mortgage.
It's a rental assistance program, right?
Yeah.
And there's a limit, and I can email it out to everybody so you have it to look at. Did I include it in the last email? Okay, I did send it out to you already.
Good. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I think like the food pantry, like Candy, her group, that might be a good place, although they're not always from Southampton. But
So we're reaching out to many different sources. Yes. Okay. And that was one of them, Joan. So good. Okay. And the other thing I sent out yesterday as well, just for a reminder, and this is, nope, wrong. Okay, let me just, okay. Southampton Citizen of the Year. So I think did I send this out yesterday as well?
Yeah.
But this is, again, this is not for us to discuss, but if there's somebody that you know, because they always say to please keep it confidential. So if there's anybody that you know that you think has done an amazing job this past year and would be a candidate for Southampton Citizen of the Year for 2021, please feel free to submit an application on their behalf. Okay, and then I never even knew until I went to the parade who it was or how they even got nominated. So this is great that we have an opportunity to nominate an individual over the age of 18. And as I said, if they're an employee of the town that can't be related to their job. So, and it's through the Southampton American Legion. So if you know of anybody that you feel has really gone above and beyond, please feel free to nominate them.
Have they been discussing, is the parade on this year, or that's too soon to say?
I haven't heard that part yet. So I don't know if anybody else knows, but I haven't heard anything about it, Joan. So. Okay, and that was kind of the last. The only other thing is, again, we mentioned briefly Celebrate Southampton. That will take place as of right now, because we never know if a surge happens or anything. So that is in August. The Friends will have a booth there. We were offering to do a pickleball demonstration last year, so Josie offered this year to do a pickleball demonstration.
What?
Josie? And,
How not to play.
no. So
Ball.
anyway, we like to. And last year we did a walk. They looks like they're going to do a walk again. We had a Walk for Life that was a Massachusetts Council on Aging program, and we looked to combine those things last year, which didn't happen. So I unfortunately had a conflict, so I didn't make the first meeting. But there's another meeting later this month on it. So.
Well, Tammy sent me some information for the newsletter because that's due this week or next week.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And I think the parade's going to change directions. It's going to go down College Highway south from the town hall to Conant Park.
Okay, so it's not a long walk. Okay, great. All right, I don't see anybody from the public here, so we'll have our May meeting scheduled. Is there anything else and I'm always, as I try to send out the reminder about the meeting and ask for any items that you would like to include, because I'm open to having input to the agenda anytime. So feel free, don't be shy. So May 5th, as Sylvia knows, is our next meeting. And we'll plan on it being via Zoom at this point, and think about if your term is up, what you'd like to do. Since we know there's at least one opening for the alternates, if you're interested in stepping into that, certainly and it would take effect July 1st. So, and because once we make an appointment, all of our terms, if we get reappointed or recommended by this board, then we put our recommendations into the select board, and then they have to do the appointing as an advisory board.
Before we close, I just had a comment. The Cinco de Mayo made me think of it. We have a completely Spanish-speaking person who's now taking our van, and it's been very interesting. And luckily, we had an interpreter by phone. But that might be a thought, is if anybody would like to spend some time in the office or interpreting phone calls, there may be a need for that.
Okay, good. Sylvia? And again, if there's as we move and start to open up, certainly look at new activities and suggestions for Joan and how we can support her. We're an advisory board. We're here to support the senior center and be advocates for the seniors in town. So that's kind of how we
one thing that I can do is if you have, I can do translations, which is the written component. If you have, applications or paperwork that needs to be translated, send them to
Perfect.
me.
Yes, that happened. I called FRTA, and they do not have a Spanish form. So,
Oh, surprise!
and even our application for the center, I'll send you them both, and if you could translate, that'd be marvelous.
Great.
I will. By
Thank
all
you.
means, I can do that.
Rini.
You're mute. Okay.
No, she's off. She's good.
I just wanted to mention that if you're interested, there is a hearing tonight at 7:00, and it's about the company or whatever that bought the land next to
American Dream, which is the Dunkin'
Dream
Donuts.
Realty. Yeah, this is the second time there's been a planning board hearing about their wanting to put a Dunkin' Donuts across from the Center Cemetery. So if you're interested, there's a Zoom meeting at 7:00.
Yeah, you can find it on mytowngov.government.org under the planning board.
Yeah.
If you have trouble finding it, just send me a quick email and I'm happy to copy it and paste it and send it out.
And just so you know, even if there's a lot of opposition and the planning board doesn't support it, which basically happened last time, that doesn't preclude them from going to the town voters and requesting a zoning change. So just so you know, but if you're interested, it's tonight, okay?
Yeah, I mean, right now it's zoned as, how do I not know this?
Residential, isn't it?
Residential, thank you, in the historic district, and they would like to change it to commercial. So that's
And
the zone,
what would they put up?
a Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin' Donuts.
A drive-through, because they don't have a drive-through. That's
Well, the other
We
thing,
do have a
they
drive-through.
have a drive-through, but the problem is they don't own the building. They want to own the building. So they bought the land expecting that they're going to be able to change the zoning. And the first time around, it wasn't supported. And then they backed out of bringing it to town meeting. So they're bringing it to the planning board and they're having a second hearing. And then, like I said, regardless of whether the planning board votes to support it or not, they can still put it on the warrant for the town meeting. So anyway, just want to let you know.
All right, great. Thank you, Rini, for bringing it up. That's important meeting. That'll be my next meeting today. So we're scheduled for May 5th at 4:00 for our next meeting. Thank you, everyone, for participating. And again, I'm always open to any information or any thoughts that you would have to make these meetings better and put more different items on it and how you can best utilize all the talent on this screen. So please let me know. Okay. Have a good one. It is officially 5:30. Have a good evening. Enjoy the nice couple of days coming up.
Thank you.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.